Well, Stokvels are synonymous with the festive season in South Africa. They're one of the most effective ways for people to save money in groups. At the end of the year, we often see images of people either getting groceries, clothing items, blankets. Others even get money after saving up for the rest of the year. Well, let's speak now to the author and founder of Stokvel Academy, Busi Skenjana. Good to have you on the program, ma'am, and Merry Christmas. Has this been another successful year for Stokvels?
Yes, it has been a successful year, I hope, in terms of creating wealth for themselves other than consuming and buying those things that you've just mentioned. So for me, success is defined by how much wealth are Stokvels creating for themselves other than just consuming and consuming.
And break that down for us, ma'am, the idea of Stokvels as a means to create wealth, because the things I highlighted, for example, growing up were linked to the fact that at the end of the year, you've got so much family traveling, coming over to see you, and we all blow through our budgets, right? So the Stokvel was able to provide you a cushion financially or in terms of groceries, etc., to be able to get through on the other end without the frustration of a lack of money to provide.
Definitely, I think those basics we still need to acknowledge and respect that, you know, we need to save for basic things like food, groceries and all that, but there's life beyond that. What I mean by generational wealth creation, we now need to move towards investment, you know, and disclaimer, I'm not a financial expert, but I think Stokvels need to start having a conversation to say, "Mangabe sibekile 100,000, for example, sisavile. How can we actually take a portion of that and invest a part of those savings, you know, for future, you know, wealth creation. By wealth, I mean, if you invest in different, you know, asset classes and all that, so I'm not against buying groceries and buying, you know, food and, you know, everything else, but the conversation should be now, how can we invest a portion of what we save, Singama Stokvel?
And are you seeing more and more of that conversation around Stokvels as a vehicle to creating wealth and investment? And is that where then the professionals, pardon me, would come in to advise and assist?
It is gradually, you know, happening, especially with the younger generation, because so the younger generation are looking into things like, for example, property investment, which is one of the most popular now recently, and other, you know, investment platforms. But I would like to invite and challenge our financial institutions like the banks to actually engage with Stokvels more in terms of actually investing, as opposed to saying, come and save with us, because most of the banks are quite keen to have Stokvels saving, you know, opening a bank account with you know, with Bank X. So the conversation should be, how can we help you to invest and grow your wealth as a Stokvel from a financial institution perspective?
Am I right in saying, ma'am, that would also include, for example, coming up with interest rates, for example, that are friendly to Stokvels? Because some of these groups exist in communities where people are living from hand to mouth, right? So the idea of paying a higher interest rate is often off-putting when you consider keeping your money with a bank versus, I don't know, you and I perhaps holding on to it in our homes, which we know is not safe.
No, certainly. I think it's designing products that are user-friendly to Stokvels, so that it can be attractive for Stokvels to actually engage with the banks and save, but not only save and invest, because you all know that there is a huge difference between just saving and investing. So the interest rates will come in when we move into the next level of investment. And I find that is not happening much within the banking sector. But another culprit, in my view, is the burial component. The financial services sector is more about masingwabane. And with all due respect, I do understand we need to bury our beloved with dignity. But let us not just push umasingwabane. There's life beyond umasingwabane. There's life beyond death. things like estate planning, for example. Those are the kind of conversations that should be, coming up front from the financial institution perspective.
So for us younger ones, I can tell you that there are conversations about joining or starting a stokvel happen at the end of every year when we see our mothers, our guardians, for example, get their share of whatever's been saved up right at the end of the year, but we don't even know where to start. How does one, for example, come up with a successful stokvel structure that ensures that we keep to our commitment, but also that people feel that whatever they're putting in financially is safe and there will be a return at the end?
You know what, as a younger generation, you've got an advantage because I think you've got a fairly easy access to the banks, for example. You know all these fancy products within the banking system, but the old-fashioned way with stokvels is about trust. Don't start a stokvel with just because it's a hype, but it's a chono or join a stokvel. You need to vet, check out people who join a number stokvel. That's the most important thing. Then another most important component is discipline. Abantu abadala, abanjengathi, we survived in stokvels because of its discipline. So I was saying to the youngsters the other day, even if uzawuthenga into yakho uzawuyisela, thenga nje ezi-4 nokho, i-2 uyibekele ke kuba ke uzayisave for next year okanye ibe part of your investment pot.
I still want to join Busi. If you can link me one of those stokvels where someone hosts once a month and we go to their house, have a good time, and at the end of the year, we all walk away with a sheep. Can you get me one of those?
Hey, you know what? Chat to your friends, I think just chat to your friends. The nice thing about stokvels, it's easy. It's just around people around you, your colleagues, your friends, your neighbors. And by the way, before you go to the sheepway, make sure that you've got storage. Because that's another thing that we need to be careful. Because our storage is sufficient.
Busi, thank you very much so much for speaking to us. Busi Skenjana is author and founder of Stokvel Academy, speaking to us about another successful year for stokvels, basically savings groups.